with actor Jeffrey Wright starring in this film. All about it. You gotta hear this conversation. Next hour. 37 and clear right now. It's cold out there. Grab a coat or a jacket. Going up to 54 today under sunny skies. And then tomorrow mostly sunny and 51. Sunday 56 and gusty. Early afternoon rain. And then Sunday night a lot of rain.
Does all the holiday music make your heart soar or sink?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by C3 Generative AI, verified traceable answers, secure, hallucination-free, LLM-agnostic, IP liability-free. Learn more at c3.ai. And by Schwab. Schwab offers investors choices like full-service wealth management, self-directed investing options, and trading on Thinkorswim. More at schwab.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. First, mortgage rates have dropped from 8 to below 7% and are down further in the last day. This will cheer home buyers if they can find a house for sale. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer reports.
Freddie Mac is predicting a gradual thawing of the housing market. Freddie is a public-private agency that buys up mortgages. It says as of yesterday, a 30-year mortgage averaged 6.95%. That follows the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting earlier this week when it decided to leave interest rates unchanged. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said Fed officials are now discussing the possibility of cutting interest rates, and new projections from those officials point to around 3 rate cuts next year. The Fed doesn't directly control mortgage rates, but it does influence them. Mortgage rates track the 10-year Treasury bond, which moves based on predictions of what the Fed will do. There's still a shortage of houses for sale because many homeowners are paying just 4% or less on their mortgages. They're reluctant to sell and buy a new home at today's higher rates. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
Stocks, S&P and NASDAQ futures are up 0.3%. The S&P is up 23% this year. The stock market's so-called fear gauge, the VIX, is at 12 today. That's a languid level of chillax we haven't seen since before pandemic. While the consensus today is the U.S. economy is bound for a soft landing where inflation ebbs with no recession, there are dissenting voices. The consensus is often wrong, and I spoke to one economist who's now watching out for unsustainable market bubbles. And now on the market by prescription, the first pill for postpartum depression. Biogen and Sage Therapeutics. The other option was hours attached to tubes and needles. There will be questions of access. Without insurance, treatment with Zurzuvae costs $16,000.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by UiPath. More than 10,000 organizations use the UiPath AI-powered business automation platform to automate business processes. It's a smarter way to innovate. More at uipath.com/marketplace. UiPath, the foundation of innovation. And by UKG, an HR payroll and workforce management solution designed to help make a fairy tale workplace a reality. UKG, our purpose is people.
Now here's the part where I admit I just can't stand holiday music. Gassing up or buying toothpaste, no escape. Somebody like Paul McCartney sings, but what I hear is simply spending a fortune to my last dime. Joining us to talk sense into me are two childhood friends who separately became music stars who have created and performed holiday music. Here's one, Judy Pancoast.
Let me tell you about this house. There's one in every town. It's the one at Christmas time where folks all gather round.
House on Christmas Street. Judy's also been nominated for a Grammy for her children's music. Hey, Judy.
Hi, David. How are you?
Good. I love hearing you because you're my friend, but care to diagnose my general problem with holiday music?
I don't understand when you became such a humbug because, I was thinking about this. You actually gave me my very first Christmas present that didn't come from someone in my family. If it weren't for Christmas music, when would we hear Bing Crosby or Elvis or Karen Carpenter? We would not hear these great voices if it weren't for the most wonderful time of the year.
All right, I suppose some oldies channel, but I see your point. Now, on the line with us as well, jazzman Darman Meter, also my pal since forever. He and his band New York Voices have worked on Grammy-winning projects, and they also have a holiday album. Hey, Darman.
Hey, David.
You don't hear the genre as a consumerism promotion device?
Well, here's where it gets tricky. If you say, I love holiday music or I don't like holiday music, that's like saying, I love pop music or I don't love pop music. The genres are so diverse.
Here's Darman with his fellow New York voices.
I like you for Christmas. Ooh, please make my wish come true.
So, Darman, to what extent might it also be about the intent of the artist when crafting a Christmas song? Meeting their mortgage payment would be one intent, but a loftier goal maybe? Some artistry?
I think it can be both, but it's also easy to sometimes feel like a lot of them are the artist's attempt to create an annual annuity as that song gets played every December. Part of it also gets into the whole side of things where Christmas as a secular, joyful season, family, friends, good cheer, and throw in a little romance, perhaps. That's wonderful, but that's very different than the original meaning of Christmas in terms of the birth of Christ and all of the sacred music. And that music tends to be put on the shelf. I love the balance of the two.
Judy Pankhurst, what was your intent when you wrote House on Christmas Street? I mean, it wasn't just like to get a nickel out of me.
The original intent was just to make people happy. I mean, really, that's it. I just want to make music that makes people laugh, have a good time, have fun. I've never gotten rich off my music, so that wasn't even a thought. But I'll be honest with you. Immortality, David. I wanted a song that would live on after I'm gone. The only times a lot of people hear Nat King Cole is at Christmas time. So I said to Philip, my husband, I said, if I ever had a hit, I would want it to be this one because it would come back year after year after year long after I've left.
Big ending now from Judy.
On Christmas Street.
Judy Pankhurst, House on Christmas Street, her song embraced by people who do those houses you cruise past, covered in blinking holiday lights. And Darman Meter, New York Voices, each are my friends from our childhoods in Central Maine. Links to their work at marketplace.org. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
To play us out, here's Darman with New York Voices.
Good tidings to you wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas. And a happy new year.
Our executive producer is Kelly Silvera. Our digital producer is Dylan Mietinen. Our engineers are Jessen Duhler, Brian Allison, and Becca Weinman. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.
Support for WNYC comes from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, helping public radio advance journalistic excellence in the digital age. The Knight Foundation believes informed and engaged communities are essential for healthy democracy. More at kf.org.
Next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour, one man's harrowing escape from the siege of Gaza.
It was the first time in my life I see an Israeli soldier, which is, I think, very strange. You have been under bombardment, you have been living under siege and occupation, and you haven't seen any soldier in your life, but you are bombed from the sky.
I'll talk with the writer Mossab Abu Toa next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour. Listen tomorrow morning at 10 on 93.9 FM or get the podcast.
This is WNYC FM, HD, and AM New York.
Good morning. It's been 50 years today since the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from its list of mental disorders. The move helped change the perception of LGBTQ plus people in America.
The most important oppressor that we ever had was the pseudoscience of psychiatry, psychoanalysis.
I'm Michael Hill. It's Morning Edition from NPR and WNYC. Disagreements emerge among world leaders over the future of Gaza. Experts warn the U.S. needs to do more to prevent outbreaks of mosquito-borne viruses. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for the subway love in your life, the MTA's memorabilia sale is open for just one more day. It's Friday, December 15th. The news is next.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The European Union has voted to formally open membership talks with Ukraine, as well as Moldova. The head of the European Council, Charles Michel, says the vote is key.
This is extremely important. We want to support Ukraine. It's a very powerful political signal. It's a very powerful political decision. And today and tonight, I think to the people of Ukraine, we are on their side, and this decision made by the member states is extremely important for the credibility of the European Union.
But the EU won't be able to send $50 billion in new aid to Ukraine. That was blocked by Hungary's prime minister. Viktor Orban is Russia's strongest ally in the EU. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has met officials in Israel. The defense minister says Israel will need months to defeat Hamas. Sullivan will now meet Palestinian Authority leaders in the West Bank. An opinion poll taken in the West Bank and Gaza finds the war has boosted Hamas's popularity, but a majority of Palestinians still do not support the militant group. NPR's Frank Langfitt reports from Tel Aviv.
The Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, a well-regarded independent think tank, conducted the wide-ranging poll in person with more than 1,200 respondents. It found that support for Hamas had tripled in the West Bank, but a majority in both territories still don't support the group. The survey also found nearly 60% want the Palestinian Authority dissolved. The Palestinian Authority administers parts of the West Bank, but is widely seen as corrupt. The U.S. wants the PA, as it's called, to help run a post-Hamas Gaza. Meanwhile, the vast majority in the West Bank think Hamas will win the war. Only half in Gaza think the same. Surveys in Gaza were done during the ceasefire. Frank Langfitt, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
In the U.S., a group of current and former Alabama prisoners is suing the state for prison labor practices. As NPR's Meg Anderson reports, the prisoners say they are forced to work for little or no pay.
Working in prison is common across the country, and that work is typically required. The plaintiffs in the Alabama lawsuit work or worked in construction, factories, food service. They claimed if they refused, they risked being punished with things like solitary confinement or being deprived of food. Robert Earl Council is one of the plaintiffs. He's currently in prison.
Alabama seems to be addicted to cheap labor. People right now being forced to work for free while someone else reaps the benefit from their profits.
The plaintiffs are suing more than 24 government officials, public agencies, and private companies, including Alabama Governor Kay Ivey and the State Department of Corrections, which says it can't comment on an ongoing lawsuit. Meg Anderson, NPR News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are higher. You're listening to NPR News.
And this is WNYC, 37 and clear at 7:04. Good morning, I'm Michael Hill. A federal judge is holding the New York City Department of Correction in contempt of court. Judge Laura Swain made the decision yesterday after she learned jail's officials had put detainees accused of setting fires in a specialized unit without sprinklers in the cells. She said jail's officials didn't get the required permission from a federal monitor to move those detainees. The judge set new strict requirements for jail's officials to keep the federal monitor in the loop. If they fail, she said she will consider charging the city at least $1,000 a day for every violation. New Yorkers are bracing for budget cuts this year, but city officials say those cuts will not affect snow removal. Sanitation Commissioner Jessica Tisch made the pledge while she and Mayor Eric Adams unveiled a new technology to track city snowplows.
We are headed into this snow season with the highest head count of sanitation workers that we have had in decades.
New Yorkers are bracing, as we said there, for the snow. Tisch says the city has 600 more sanitation workers than it did last year at this time, but sanitation has made cuts to other programs, including delaying its expansion of curbside composting. A program that provides composting at green markets was given a 6-month reprieve this week after an anonymous donor made an undisclosed gift. Con Edison is blaming issues with the transmission line for a brief outage last night that caused some lights to flicker and elevators to stop in the city. The utility posted to social media that the fault on a high-tension line happened at a Brooklyn substation around 11:55. It says crews are investigating and making necessary repairs. The New York Times reports witnesses near the substation described hearing and seeing an explosion just after the flicker. The outage briefly knocked out elevators and escalators at Grand Central Station. The Long Island Railroad says power has since been restored. The MTA says there are no 7 trains between Queensboro Plaza and Flushing Main Street. As an alternative, they suggest taking nearby EF trains or Q32, Q60 buses. The LIRR is also accommodating New York City Transit riders at no additional cost at Grand Central Madison, Penn Station, Woodside, and Flushing Main Street. Also, there are delays on southbound 456 trains due to signal problems at 14th Street, Union Square, and Jackson Avenue. An SIR service is suspended between Arthur Kill and Tottenville. 36 and actually 37 in clear now, sunny, and 54 for a high on this Friday. It's 7:07.